So for at least two families, Devyani's family here in India and of course Captain Sunil James' family also here in India, this past week has been a nightmare. On the buck stops here today, we'll ask whether the Indian government responds to all of its citizens suffering outside in equal measure, or is outrage, attention and scrutiny sometimes selective. But first let's introduce the father and the wife, who in many ways have been at the heart of two tragic stories that we've seen unfold. We're joined by Uttam Khobragade. He's of course Devyani's father, Devyani being the Indian diplomat at the heart of a storm between India and the United States. And we're also joined by Aditi James, wife of Captain Sunil James. Captain James is finally coming home, but Captain James' little baby has died very tragically while he was away. Let's also introduce our other guest tonight. We're joined by KC Singh. He's of course a well-known former diplomat and commentator. We're also joined from Ahmedabad tonight by Dushyant Dave, senior advocate in the Supreme Court. Joining us from Mumbai tonight is senior journalist and commentator Siddharth Bhatia. And with me in the studio is Rakhi Sehgal, trade union leader. Aditi James, I'd like to start with you. In many ways, what you have gone through and what Uttam Khobragade have gone through is similar to the extent that only both of you can know as relatives, as family members. What you feel in Aditi's case for her husband, in your case for your daughter, Aditi. But you really had to run pillar to post before you could get the kind of attention in many ways that the Devyani case has got, with good reason, of course. What would you say to Mr. Khobragade? You're both people who've been fighting for your families here in India. Aditi.
I would like to say that it's been a very big struggle for us. It's been more than 5 months since we have been running from pillar to post. There is no door which we have not knocked. At the end we were so disappointed that we even went to the extent of meeting the Prime Minister. That's the turning point when the momentum started to take place in our case.
Yes, and meeting the Prime Minister was a turning point, but in the meantime, Aditi, you tragically lost your your 11-month-old baby to septicemia.
Yes, that was that's the worst thing that can happen to anybody. We were already fighting for Sunil for the past 5 months in the hope that he would be back soon. And suddenly we just lose Vivan, and that comes as a shock to the entire family. It was very devastating for all of us to go through that point. But the only thing in our minds was that we have lost Vivan, we cannot lose Sunil now. So we kept this fight going on to get Sunil back.
And you know, I have Devyani Khobragade's father, Mr. Uttam Khobragade, with me, Aditi. Do you in a sense feel more than all of us what he must have been going through these past few weeks?
I do. I can understand. I can empathize with what he has been going through, because I have been going through the same thing for the past 5 months, and I know how difficult each day is when you know your loved one is in trouble and you are reaching out to people to provide help to them at the earliest.
Uttam Khobragade, you have said today that the US Attorney's statement is an attack on the Indian judiciary. Salman Khurshid is saying we don't even need to pay attention to what Preet Bharara is saying. The Foreign Ministry is saying there's only one victim here, your daughter. Are you now convinced that justice will be done when it comes to your daughter? Do you believe John Kerry's remarks expressing regret are enough? Do they close the subject for you?
No, of course, the way government is responding,
yes,
the way you all people are standing with us, I have a hope that justice will be done. But it is entirely how government reacts, how government go there. And normally government will have to use the diplomatic channel, as I was definitely assured during my visit to the Home Minister and Minister External Affairs.
Yes.
So the efforts are on, the peoples are with us, the media with us. With all this, I am hopeful justice will be done.
Uttam Khobragade, what would you say to Aditi James, who lost her child? Her husband is finally coming home. I really want this conversation also to be from one family to another family, because what we want to say is that many Indian citizens suffer abroad. Sometimes not all of them get the same attention. Uttam ji.
Yeah, really, I sympathize with this girl. She must have gone through, I can understand from my own, because the entire family is traumatized, and this here is the single girl, young girl, her husband is not. I can understand her. Really, she must have gone through bad time. And then again losing the child in the process. I really have all the sympathy for the girl.
I want to open up this conversation now to looking at the Indian response. Does India respond in the same way, with the same fierceness, with the same passion for all of its citizens who suffer abroad, or is intervention sometimes selective? Has the last word yet been spoken on Devyani's case, where Salman Khurshid today has said that what America has done is unacceptable? KC Singh, let me start with you. Some developments have taken place in the last 24 hours. You have Preet Bharara's statement, very scathing statement, saying that India has not even spoken about its other citizen, Sangeeta Richards. The entire focus has been on Devyani, to which Salman Khurshid has told me, who's Preet Bharara? We're not going to pay attention to him. John Kerry has expressed regret. Is that regret enough, Ambassador KC Singh?
No, that is a starting point. I think the main thing is that that case has to be handled. Otherwise, they may well say that she has to appear before the court. Secondly, the State Department has to accept a change of status from the consulate to the permanent mission. And in any case, joining the permanent mission does not give her immunity for actions which have taken place before she joined the mission. And what is happening in New York is something which happened earlier. There is no retrospective immunity as such.
What do
So
you
we
make
need
of
to
what do you
see
make
how
of Preet
they-
Bharara's statement and Salman Khurshid's response to it?
Look, Barka, Preet Bharara, like any policeman in India or any enforcement agency, has to defend his actions. He has turned a wage dispute into first a visa fraud and then into human trafficking. Now, if he has gone all the way to human trafficking, that he had to pull out the family of that maid, whereas from our point of view, very simply, this maid has managed to work her way into US, use Devyani first to get into US, and then use the legal system to get permanent residence there. No, it's an entirely different story from the other side, where the US system and misguided humanitarianism and misguided zeal of Mr. Preet Bharara has been used to smuggle a person in and get her into US.
Okay,
Would the US ever give visas, give visas to a driver here and his child to go to US? Even perfectly fine families are denied visas on a daily basis.
I can see Rakhi Sehgal getting extremely restless in the studio, but Rakhi, give me a second. I know you want to argue with KC Singh, but I want to get Dushyant Dave in. Dushyant Dave, on a point of law, is this a complicated case? Because what the Americans are saying, and I'm going to get Devyani's father to come in on this as well, and in a way, Aditi went through something similar, because Aditi's husband was put away on charges of aiding pirates, which he said was a completely false charge. Uttamji's daughter was arrested on charges of underpaying her domestic help. Now, what the Americans, Dushyant, are saying is that you broke our law. This is what they're saying. How do we respond to this legally, Dushyant?
Barka, first and foremost, I share the anguish of the two families, as all Indians would. But having said that, let me say one thing very clearly, that, in a country like United States of America, the law, is equal for everybody. It's not the kind of a legal system that we have in a country like India, where, the so-called VIPs enjoy a completely different status before the law, and a common citizen, is really subjected to the rigors of the law. So that has to be really understood, that, this kind of a treatment is very common in United States. Even the richest of the rich in America would receive the same treatment as, Ms. Khobragade has received.
But do you believe
But
that she
secondly,
deserved
we
to be
also
strip
must
searched?
appreciate-
Do you believe she
And as
deserved to be
Mr.
strip
Comment
searched for a dispute in the interpretation of wages?
Two things.
I want to
Two
comment.
things. One, I do not agree that Delhi High Court has any jurisdiction at all to intervene in this kind of matters where things have happened outside India.
Yeah.
So that was something which is really surprising me, that Delhi High Court gave these orders.
Yeah.
Two, that if she did act illegally, I mean, you have to proceed against her within the United States of America. And three, most important, that if the laws were violated by the diplomat, it's something which has to be handled at the diplomatic level. I do not believe that Indian mission is doing something which is so different from any other mission.
Yeah.
In fact, I know of cases where the Middle Eastern missions, have treated their staff much differently, much worse than what our people have treated. and the United States has rarely taken action against them. You read about this in newspapers all the time.
So you're saying
But-
it was a racist
but all
response?
the same,
Dushyant,
I
are you
feel
saying it was
that
racist?
there is-
Are you saying it was racist? Was it a racist response? Was it taking Indians for granted?
See, I must say one thing, and this is my personal belief. I have seen a lot of Indians in America who are, resident of America also suffering. I genuinely believe that there is a fair amount of bias against us within the, administration of justice in America. Be it the police, be it the judicial system.
Okay.
And I personally feel that that is something which we have to really take up at the highest level.
Okay,
to correct
KC Singh
in the
wanted to
course
come
of
in there
time.
and then I want to go
And
back to
in
Uttam ji.
America,
Yeah.
the judicial system,
Yeah, there are.
in America, the
Barkha,
judicial
on the-
system and the police
Yeah.
are not under the control of the government at all.
Okay.